Welcome to Sage Audio. Today we're talking about how to saturate a mix. To get the most from your music, consider watching the entirety of each chapter for a complete understanding of the topic. Also, if you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. What is saturation? Saturation as a term gets used a lot and is often conflated with distortion, but it's a unique phenomenon in audio engineering. It occurs when a signal is run through an electrical component or a magnetic one, but that component can no longer handle the amount of electricity being run through it. This results in a non-linear input to output ratio, in other words, compression. The compression is often gradual or has a soft knee and becomes more aggressive the stronger the signal. Additionally, the process creates harmonics, which will look and sound different depending on the electrical component being saturated. Why does saturation improve a mix? The gradual compression caused by saturation will help control the dynamic range of the signal, while the harmonics will increase the perceived loudness and shape the frequency response. Harmonics evoke a psychoacoustic response, where the fundamentals to which they relate become easier to hear. This effect is so strong that even if I remove the fundamental, our brains will still generate it so long as the harmonics are there. So in short, saturation will make whatever you put it on easier to hear. Let's take a listen to some saturation.
Never told you what I feel, now I'm in front of you. I just want to be more than friends. Every time I see you around, my heart races to disturb, but you do not feel the same. Tell me if I am the one that you like it.
If you're enjoying the video, consider hitting the like button. It really helps us bring you more videos. Saturating using analog emulation. Analog emulation plugins are probably the easiest way to achieve saturation. They mimic both the dynamics processing and the harmonic generation associated with analog equipment. You're probably well aware of this, but just like with different electrical components, different emulations result in various harmonic formations. Now, if you're ever curious about this, just run a sine wave through an emulator and use an EQ to measure the harmonics that come out the other side. Let's take a listen to some various analog emulations.
Never told you what I feel, now I'm in front of you. I just want to be more than friends. Every time I see you around, my heart races to disturb, but you do not feel the same. Tell me if I am the one that you like it.
Combining distortion and compression. Since saturation is more or less distortion and compression, we can recreate it using separate distortion and compression plugins. This way you can really control how the two elements are combined. For example, I could use optical compression with a strong second-order harmonic to make a really full sound. Or I could combine fast compression with an exciter for a super bright and aggressive sound. Let's take a listen.
Never told you what I feel, now I'm in front of you. I just want to be more than friends. Every time I see you around, my heart races to disturb, but you do not feel the same. Tell me if I am the one that you like it.
Only a small percentage of people that watch our videos are subscribed, so if you're enjoying the video, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind. Mix bus saturation. When it comes to your mix bus, it's best to be cautious with saturation. It can no doubt greatly improve the sound, but it can easily be overdone. Fortunately, a lot of plugins offer a wet dry for the effect, meaning you can blend in just the right amount of saturation. If available with the plugin that you're using, I'd also recommend a subtle or gentle setting. Let's take a listen.
Never told you what I feel, now I'm in front of you. I just want to be more than friends. Every time I see you around, my heart races to disturb, but you do not feel the same. Tell me if I am the one that you like it.
Linear phase and parallel saturation. Just a moment ago, I mentioned using the wet-dry or mix dial when introducing saturation via your mix bus. Now, one important thing to note is that you should use linear phase when performing this type of parallel processing. This way, you avoid phase cancellation between your dry and saturated signals. Since the saturation will add harmonics, it'll shift the frequency response. When the shifted frequency response of your wet signal is combined with your dry, it can cause issues. Linear phase will ensure that this cancellation doesn't occur. Let's take a listen. If you'd like our custom plugin presets, audio samples, loops, download sheets, a members only badge next to your name in comments, and more, consider joining with the link in the description. Oversampling and saturation. While we're covering technical aspects of saturation, let's talk about how oversampling will make your saturation sound more like analog equipment. If you're heavily saturating your high frequencies, or both, you'll need to use oversampling to avoid aliasing distortion, a distinctly digital form of distortion. If harmonics caused by saturation go above the maximum frequency that your sampling rate supports, they'll get reflected down the spectrum and can cause comb filtering as well as just generally sound unpleasant. Oversampling both increases the max frequency that can be occupied and utilizes filters to attenuate any reflections that may occur. As a result, your emulations sound more like the aliasing-free analog equipment on which they're based. Let's take a listen.
Never told you what I feel. Now I'm in front of you. I just want to be more than friends. Every time I see you around, my heart races to the top, but you do not feel the same. Tell me if I am the one that you like it.
Measuring THD. Admittedly, this last chapter is much more on the technical side than the practical, but by using some tricks, you can measure your total harmonic distortion. Some plugins have these meters built in, as does some hardware, but if you're using a plugin that doesn't, here's how you can measure it. In short, we're gonna do a null test in which we have both our saturated and original or clean signal on separate tracks. I'll invert the phase of one, then play both simultaneously. The signal that's left will be only what's different between the two, in this case, the saturation. Now we can measure the peak, RMS, LUFS, or whatever form of measurement you want of your saturated signal and compare it to the clean signal. Furthermore, we get to hear the delta or soloed version of our saturation. Let's take a listen to it.
Every time I see you around, my heart races to the top, but you do not feel the same.
If you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching.